Hi, I wanted to walk through the thesis packet sample. It is a deceptively simple assignment. This particular one is entirely on a single page, even though it is double-spaced with 1-inch margins, 12-point font. Yet it all fits on a single page. But don't be confused. Just because it comes off very clean and simple doesn't mean it doesn't have a lot of thought behind it. So let's get to some of the basics first of all. Okay, so structure-wise, you have the last name and page number here. You have the name block over here. There's my student. You may have heard of her. My name, English 101, and the date the assignment is being turned in. Pretty straightforward, right? Then for the title, and this is basically just for the thesis packet, okay? I want you to put down the author and question number that you're referring to, okay? I don't need yet to see your actual content title. Now with a rough draft, you should of course do a content title. That is, you make up your own title for your essay to reflect what it's about. But for the thesis packet, I prefer to do this because that way I know which question you're responding to, and it makes life a lot easier for me and hopefully also for you. So the thesis packet, I've asked for basically the thesis sentence, a brief outline, what I call a topic outline, and then one source. You only need to have one source for this assignment, and it may be a source from our book. So the question here is Brothers number 8, okay? Now, it doesn't matter if you're working on Brothers number 8 or not, right? That's the question number. And I'll just read the question to you because you may not have your book in front of you. Brothers states Godzilla is a metaphor of man's tampering with science as relevant a message today as it was over 50 years ago. Compare and contrast Godzilla and Mary Shelley's Frankenstein, another story that springs from anxieties about meddling with science. What similarities are there in the creatures from Frankenstein and Godzilla, and how does the fact that Godzilla is a distinctly non-human monster create differences between it and Shelley's inventor? Okay, so the thesis is an answer to that major question. Okay, what's going on with these two? Godzilla is a fulfillment of Frankenstein's prophecy, mankind's technological advancement had outpaced his spiritual evolution. Single sentence, the argument, because it does take on Godzilla and Frankenstein, right? So the thesis has both Godzilla and Frankenstein. Remember, of course, Frankenstein is the doctor. But Frankenstein's prophecy is a relationship to the work itself. Okay. So Mary Shelley, who's writing early in the 19th century, created this story called Frankenstein, in which Dr. Frankenstein is using this newfangled technology called electricity. And he does so in an attempt to recreate life out of death, right? So that's the prophecy, right? Here's what happens when science goes amok. Godzilla, on the other hand, was a film created in 1954. The prophecy had already happened. Nuclear bombs, or to be more precise, atomic bombs, which were dropped on Hiroshima and Nagasaki at the end of World War II. Okay, so Godzilla is actually created after the atomic attacks, right? It's a response. And that's why you see the path, I could call it, in this thesis. Frankenstein came first. It was a prophecy predicting the future. Godzilla came second. It is the fulfillment of that prophecy. And where does that prophecy come from? Because our science, our technology is way ahead of where we are morally or spiritually. Now, whenever we have an argument, please remember you have a concession. So the concession is the other side, okay? Please remember that. Whenever you have an argument, you say yes, somebody else says no. The person who says no, what are they saying? And so here the concession is, hey, why should science be stopped or slowed down by questions of morality? Because, of course, morality is very abstract. It changes. Individuals have different moral principles, much less individuals over long periods of time, much less groups. So why should we somehow slow science down? You see this argument today, right? GMOs, for example, are a good example of where people are still wondering, have we gone too far? But the GMOs exist. Main body paragraphs. This one just has 3 main body paragraphs: 1, 2, and 3. Okay, so your first paragraph is your introduction. That contains the thesis. The second paragraph is the concession. That contains the opposition. The 3 main body paragraphs are where you put forward your main ideas. So paragraph 1, Godzilla and Frankenstein's creature show the lessons of science done without concern for morality. So there's a point in common, right? Point 2, Godzilla represents calamity and destruction, but Frankenstein's creature does not cast such a large-scale threat. Right? Frankenstein's creature was a very individual monster. Right? His motivations, if you are not familiar with the story, are really to hurt Dr. Frankenstein himself, because Dr. Frankenstein created the creature and then rejected the creature. This is more evident in the actual written story than in the movie version that basically most people think of when they think of Frankenstein, right? They think of the 1930-something film. But he is a very individual threat. He kills people close to Dr. Frankenstein. Main body paragraph 3. Attitudes towards science have changed greatly from Shelley's time to Honda's, so their monsters are different to reflect that. Okay, so Honda, remember, is the director of Godzilla, right? So Mary Shelley is the writer of Frankenstein. So the argument in the main body paragraph is that because of these changes over 140 some odd years between the two, the monsters are different, and what they represent really are different. Of course, not part of the outline would be your conclusion. You always conclude with a conclusion, right? I do want one source. Here is a good example of a source taken from our textbook, Monsters. This, of course, is the Brothers article itself. And chances are pretty good, no matter what question you choose, you're going to be citing the author of that particular piece. So here we have author, last name first, first name last. Title of the work in quotation marks, right? Japan's Nuclear Nightmare with a period. Monsters italicized with a comma. It's in the 2nd edition, so that's important. Comma, edited by somebody really smart. There you go, comma. Publishing house, comma. 2020 is the year of publication, comma. PP represents multiple pages, so what you're doing is you're giving the pages in the book that the work shows up at. And then a Bedford Spotlight Reader is the name of the series. If this is coming at you new, I would encourage you to look at my earlier video talking about MLA issues, and particularly using our textbook from MLA. But this is exactly how this is done. So this is what I'm hoping to get back from you. Not this one in particular, obviously. This is what I'd like to get back from you on Friday. Okay, something like this. Don't give me paragraphs. Don't give me a rough draft. Even the topics in the topic outline do not have to be complete sentences. They can if you want. That's cool, but they don't have to be. And that's what we're looking to do. If you have any questions, message me or come in visit me during my office time. I'm there Monday through Friday.